A war without borders, a battle fought not on Earth, but in the silence above it. Between 1958 and 1985, two superpowers engaged in a covert conflict, not for territory and not for treasure, but for the very edge of space. It was a war of radiation and secrecy, of rockets and radar, fought by men who believed that whoever ruled orbit would rule the Earth itself. Most remember the moon landing, the triumph, the flag, the footprints. Few recall what came before: secret explosions in the upper atmosphere, spy satellites disguised as science experiments, and nuclear weapons detonated where no human eye could see. This was not exploration, it was an escalation, and it brought humanity closer to the brink than any missile ever could. If you're drawn to the untold stories hidden among the stars, subscribe to Astrion, where every silence has an echo. In the 1950s, space was not yet a sanctuary, and it was a new battlefield, a place of power. When the Soviet Union launched Sputnik 1 in 1957, it wasn't just a satellite, and it was a declaration, a metallic sphere beeping defiantly over the United States, reminding the world that the heavens were no longer beyond reach. Panic swept Washington. Within months, America created NASA, a public face for peaceful exploration, while the Pentagon quietly drafted plans for something far darker. Operation Argus, Project Hardtack, nuclear tests in the upper atmosphere. The goal was audacious: blind enemy radars, cripple satellites, and turn the sky into a shield of electromagnetic fire. Meanwhile, Moscow launched Roarsat, nuclear-powered spy satellites, and tested interceptors named Istrebitel Sputnikov, the destroyers of satellites. Exploration became militarization, and the Cold War's most dangerous frontier was no longer across oceans, but above the clouds. July 9, 1962. The world witnessed an event few understood and none could predict. From a lonely atoll in the Pacific, a Thor missile arced toward the edge of space, carrying a 1.4 megaton warhead. Its codename, Starfish Prime. At 400 kilometers altitude, higher than today's ISS, the bomb detonated. Night turned to emerald. An artificial aurora shimmered across Hawaii. Streetlights failed. Radios hissed with static, but beauty masked catastrophe. The explosion wiped out communication satellites and flooded Earth's magnetic field with radiation so intense it lingered for months. Had astronauts been in orbit that night, their suits would have offered no protection. Soviet scientists, watching from half a world away, grasped the implication instantly: space itself could be weaponized. They accelerated their own counter-projects, Polyot interceptors designed to collide with enemy satellites, proving that orbit could become the ultimate high ground. In a single night, humankind transformed the sky into a potential battlefield. Most assumed the danger ended when treaties were signed and astronauts shook hands in front of cameras. But the war for the heavens never truly stopped. Through the 1970s and 80s, both nations continued to prepare in silence. In 1976, the Soviets launched Cosmos 967, the first true killer satellite. It could shadow another spacecraft, then detonate shrapnel to disable it. 9 years later, the U.S. Air Force fired an ASM-135 missile from an F-15 jet, striking a satellite 500 kilometers above Earth. For a brief moment, the Cold War reached orbit. Every test left behind a deadly legacy: debris. Thousands of fragments, each moving faster than a bullet, began circling the planet. Then, in 2007, China revived the old playbook, destroying one of its own satellites. The blast created more than 3,000 new fragments, pieces that still drift through the darkness today, silent reminders of a conflict humanity never confessed to fighting. And now, new powers, India, Japan, the European Union, and private giants like SpaceX and Blue Origin occupy the same domain once reserved for governments and generals. The Forgotten War has simply changed uniforms. Share your thoughts below. Can humanity truly keep space peaceful? Today, more than 9,000 active satellites weave a fragile web around our planet, carrying every GPS signal, phone call, and financial transaction. Yet each satellite is vulnerable. Nations are developing space shields, laser defense grids, kinetic interceptors, and cyber weapons that can blind satellites without firing a single shot. The United States tests its classified X-37B spaceplane. Russia expands its Noodle program. China prepares the Shijian-21, a satellite that can literally push other objects out of orbit. And beyond them all stand corporations, launching constellations of satellites faster than treaties can be written. The line between exploration and occupation has never been thinner. If another conflict comes, it won't begin with a flash on a radar screen. It will begin with silence. As a network goes dark, a signal fades, and the world below realizes the sky has turned hostile once again. We often gaze upward and see hope, the promise of a new frontier. But space has always mirrored us, our ambition, our fears, our desire to dominate. The forgotten war for the edge of space was never about who got there first. It was about who would control the invisible paths above our heads. Every satellite that orbits Earth today is a descendant of those early weapons, peaceful in purpose, but born from conflict. Every launch we celebrate carries the echo of detonations that once lit the sky. Now, as technology races ahead of regulation, the question returns. Can we learn from a war we pretended never happened? Perhaps the final frontier was never about reaching new worlds, but understanding our own. The edge of space may be silent, but it remembers everything. Subscribe to Astrion for more stories that uncover the secrets hidden between the stars, where science meets history and truth travels beyond the atmosphere.